All right, we've actually got a lot of new Nintendo Switch 2 updates to discuss today because you might be well aware that Opening Night Live just wrapped up yesterday. Gamescom 2025, yes, another Jeff Keighley event within the gaming industry. We have plenty of these now, but listen, I'm still a fan overall of these live presentations in general. They're not the best and they could be done better, but from the E3 era, it harkens back to some level of nostalgia, I guess, for me personally. But nonetheless, we did get a number of new game announcements for Switch and Switch 2, and I do want to recap them all with you. One of them being a big one that was rumored. We talked about it on the channel. Then we have an exciting leak. I'm going to call it a leak. It's technically a rumor. It comes from Nate the Hate. And I feel comfortable saying that, one, we've had this rumored from a few different sources. Two, Nate the Hate is by far the most reliable leaker within the industry. And it's just, look at the track record. If you actually go deep dive it, we've learned about so many new announcements and projects from this individual ahead of their official reveal. So this is also going to be a big game that should be headed to Switch 2 in 2026 as well. And that's obviously totally separate from everything we saw at Opening Night Live. And I also want to kind of throw in a little bit of the conversation of a bit of a reality check with where we're at with Switch 2 third-party support right now, because I do see comments everywhere online really wondering, like, why are all these new games getting announced and only a few of them have Switch 2 logos? And we actually know the reason for that, and we've talked about it in the past, but we'll kind of get on the same page with what to expect in terms of when that might ramp up and change for Switch 2. Then we do have the official lineup of every playable game and demo that will be at PAX West 2025, which is coming up as of next week. So lots of exciting footage to look forward to from these games. Then we have the Pokemon Company teasing a Legend ZA update on Thursday, and Hollow Knight Silksong also scheduled for an update on Thursday. So we'll get on the same page with all of this info. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first kick this off by rounding out the different announcements we saw for Switch 1 and 2 games at Gamescom Opening Night Live. We did open it up with Bubsy 4D. If you have nostalgia for this franchise, you're probably more excited for this than people who maybe don't have any nostalgia for Bubsy. I did not play his games back in the day, but I remember them being around, and I may have played at one of them once at a friend's house. So not really that nostalgic for me necessarily, but I will say this Bubsy 4D does actually look, like a fun 3D platforming adventure type of game. Like, we are seeing a lot of these, to be fair, nowadays in recent memory, but this looks like it has a lot of fun, playful energy to it, very lighthearted, probably simple in its nature, but still, maybe packing a challenge at certain parts of the game. We'll have to wait and see. But that was a nice little surprise to see Bubsy return, and it's coming to all platforms, but also Switch 1 and 2. We then did get Outlaws plus Handful of Missions Remaster announced for Switch 1 and 2. I did not play the original Outlaws plus Handful of Missions, so not really one that did much for me, but I will say the art style of it is unique enough that it does make you take a second look. Definitely that Doom style core gunplay mechanics from the looks of things, but a more cell shaded, almost like you're watching a cartoon but in 3D type of art to it. It's interesting enough. Again, didn't play the original, but it was back from 97, and this will be headed to all of the consoles as well, in addition to Nintendo Switch, which you can play, of course, via backwards compatibility on Switch 2. He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, Dragon Pearl of Destruction. This is going to be one for He-Man fans for sure, but I just like the look of it in general. I was not so much of a He-Man fan myself growing up or anything like that. I did watch a few different episodes over the years, but not necessarily one that ever set its hook in with me personally, but this just looks like good SNES, Sega Genesis goodness from back in the day, and action adventure, side-scrolling beat-em-up type of combat. It's coming to Nintendo Switch, and we did not get a release date for it, just coming soon. Absalom is headed to Nintendo Switch on October 9th, 2025, so a pretty quick turnaround for this one. It's obviously playable on Switch 2 via backwards compatibility. Another side-scrolling action-adventure, more beat-em-up style game, but some different looking visuals and combat mechanics and things like that. Looked interesting enough. It's a pretty quick turnaround in terms of how long we'll have to discuss it before it's ultimately released, and you can look into reviews and stuff like that. We did get the announcement of Sonic Racing Crossworlds with a Pac-Man World 2 Repack DLC collaboration. This is for Switch 1 and 2, but yes, we have some Pac-Man support in Sonic's newest racing game, and the other way around, we have Sonic skin on Pac-Man, to be fair, playable in Pac-Man World 2 repack. So both DLC packs, I do think they're going to cost extra money. They're not going to be included with the base game, but these kind of collaborations are at least fun at the very least, just because you see two classic iconic characters teaming up and working together as a pretty cool collab coming up for Switch 1 and 2 in this case. Lots of racing games to digest though lately, like between Kirby Air Riders, we just got Mario Kart World, and now Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. It's a little bit too much of the kart racer genre to digest all in the same year, in my personal opinion. I really wish all of these games were maybe spaced out from each other a little over a year. Now, we didn't get the big Hollow Knight Silksong blowout at this event, but we did see little snippets of gameplay behind Jeff Keighley as he was actually talking about it. It went full screen for just a moment. Not a whole lot to discuss on this yet. We will definitely be covering it in the upcoming days, as it will be a demo playable at Gamescom and PAX. So we're going to see a lot of new footage in more detail. And one of the stories we're going to cover is the next update around it and the official announcement around that. So we got a little quick snippet, nothing major from Hollow Knight other than reconfirmation that it is still a 2025 game. One of the bigger and more exciting titles, I would say, at the opening night live presentation that we knew was coming down the pipeline at some point, but we saw the first official big reveal for it. Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. And listen, the set and setting for this game actually looks top notch. And if you know anything about the Dark Knight trilogy from the movies, that's the peak of Batman cinema for me. I know there's fans of more of the throwback ones even before then, but you know, listen, for me personally, that's peak Batman storytelling, and it looks to be really set in that timeline and era and stuff. And Lego comedy can be a little bit goofy and over the top at times. Sometimes gets a legitimate laugh out of me depending on the jokes and stuff. Like, they are fun. And oftentimes I would say the biggest criticism is they can just be a little bit too easy and more targeted towards a younger gaming audience. That said, this does have a Dark Knight mode where it will ramp up the difficulty, and just as a whole, the visuals, the presentation, the story, the setting, I'm actually pretty hyped for this game in terms of a Lego release. I will say for a Lego game, this is amongst the highest I could possibly be looking forward to one of these. I did enjoy my time with the Skywalker saga, to be fair, but you know, we'll see how this ultimately plays out, start to finish and all of that kind of stuff. We just know this one's coming out 2026. So from there, Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion does have a demo now available for the Nintendo Switch 2. This is out on September 5th. I think that demo is 21 gigabytes. So get ready for clearing out some storage. If you don't already have an SD card on your Switch 2, we have a lot of big files to download this generation. But this game continues to look better and better the more details we see on it. I'm still not exactly up my alley of games that I typically go full on into, but I will have my eye on this one. I may be picking it up and checking it out on the channel for you guys. So I'm going to start with the demo and go from there and kind of make my decision based off what that demo plays like. A big focal point and surprise announcement at this event was the confirmation that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, in addition to the DLC, if I'm not mistaken, will be headed to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. And what's really cool is that the DLC for this game is looking pretty beefy on its own right, as we saw it featured at this event as well. Now, there was some confusion online, lots of screenshots going around basically stating that you can do comparisons right now with what this game looks like from the Switch 2, but then it turns out that that's like the original media kit, and potentially those screenshots aren't actually pulling from any kind of workable build on the Switch 2. So we will touch on this topic a little bit more later in terms of what we should be expecting for development time of a lot of these Switch 2 ports. But listen, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, high fan praise, and one that I kind of sat on the sidelines and didn't check out. I will be picking this up and reviewing it when it does come out for the Switch 2. I'm personally very excited to play it, and I will be looking forward to having the option to play it in portable as well as docked. This is a really cool announcement, and something that, you know, one of these big AAA Xbox rumored games that we've talked about at length quite some time in the lead up to the Switch 2 finally coming to fruition, and it is a 2026 title card right now, hopefully earlier in the year rather than later, but nonetheless, some of these are making it over finally. Chronos, we did see this already at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct Partner Showcase. That's September 5th, 2025. New little snippets of gameplay we hadn't seen before. I'm pretty excited about this one just because I'm a fan of the Dead Space franchise, and it reminds me exactly of that. From there, we did have Cult of the Lamb getting a DLC expansion, Switch 1. This is a 2026 announcement, and that not an exact date or anything like that, but obviously a very successful game, big fan base, so you may be looking forward to this one. And that rounded out the Switch 1 and Switch 2 announcements, but we're not done talking about kind of a cool game that we could potentially be looking forward to coming over, because as mentioned, there is what you would call a rumor by definition, but I'm going to say consider this a leak because of this individual's track record. It's not one of those throwaway accounts, or sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Nate the Hate has come out in a confident statement and said Starfield is coming to Switch 2 next year, it's claimed. Indiana Jones reportedly won't be the only Xbox title coming to Nintendo's console next year. I mean, you have here, that's according to industry insider Nate the Hate, who has a track record of breaking stories about unreleased games. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle won't be the only Bethesda game coming to Nintendo Switch in 2026, he posted on X. See that planet? You can go there. Aside from landing on PS5, Starfield is planned for the release on the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. Starfield is yet to be officially confirmed for PlayStation 5, but numerous reports, including one earlier this month, suggest that Bethesda's sci-fi RPG is being readied for Sony's console. Microsoft and Bethesda confirmed during Gamescom opening night live that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will be released on the Switch 2 in 2026. Making it the first major Xbox first-party title to be announced for Nintendo's new platform. We had Tony Hawk's 3+4. That's not one of their big wheelhouse titles, but similar reports to exactly what we saw with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle have also suggested that Xbox is prepping multiple releases for Switch 2, including Diablo 4, Halo the Master Chief Collection, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So yes, I do believe that and this is the exact tweet in question from Nate the Hate, but I do believe we don't have to wait too much longer to really see Microsoft just continue to pull the gloves off with going third-party, aggressively multi-platform. They're not shy about this stuff anymore. They're not acting like they're going to do one or two games and not most of their big franchises. Like, they're just saying, we wish console exclusives weren't a thing. We want more Xbox games played on any platform possible, and we want players to be able to choose to play where they want to play. That's literally their mantra and their motto and their talk nowadays. So yeah, Xbox support, not too much of a big surprise, but Starfield will be a very interesting one to see because of the scope and even how that game runs on Series S. Let's say, how's that going to translate to Nintendo Switch 2? And, you know, let's hope that we actually do get things like very good performance out of that game on the Switch 2, but definitely a fun one to watch out for, and probably something that we will see announced at any given time. I mean, it could be at a Nintendo Direct, could be at an Xbox game showcase in the future. We'll have to kind of wait and see when that's going to happen. Maybe even the Game Awards, I think, would probably make sense for it as well. But supposedly a 2026 title. And then I do want to kind of briefly just touch on the comments online that you see questioning why we're not seeing all of these big new AAA games all announced for Switch 2 right now. And we've covered it in prior videos, but there is reason to believe that Nintendo has really not supplied the market with a sufficient amount of Switch 2 dev kits, because we've talked about it from numerous reports, even sources like Nate the Hate, suggesting that a lot of developers, even from larger companies, it's not just small indies that don't have dev kits right now. It's like a decent chunk of the industry is either just getting them or they have not gotten them yet. And the Switch 2 is out. So if you can't start development on your game for a console that's just recently launched, you're not going to have trailers and official confirmations ready to go that that game will come to that platform. I think it's going to be an unfortunate thing for Nintendo gamers, because we're going to have this lag behind period now, probably for a year to 2 years, for these developers to really get the dev kit in their hands, start the ports and the process of bringing their games over. We'll get that backlog of missed games, and then also, as we go along and developers do have Switch 2 dev kits in their hand, we will see day and date support for a lot of titles going forward. But this is going to be a ramp up type situation. However, I will say that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle being announced at opening night live does kind of, in my mind, open the floodgates for third parties don't have to play by this very strict, tight-lipped Nintendo rule set that they were doing up to this point in time. Like when we knew a lot of third-party games were headed to Switch 2, but we weren't seeing them talked about or even acknowledged for the Switch 2 outside of Nintendo's own direct presentations. I think that that won't be so much of a thing going forward now with this kind of announcement from Microsoft at opening night live, which is nice to see. Okay, moving on from here, we have the lineup of games that will be playable at PAX West, which is happening over next weekend. So, Kirby Air Riders, Pokemon Legends ZA Switch 2 Edition, Hollow Knight Silksong, Borderlands 4, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, and Hades 2. That is quite a lineup, so if you are somebody fortunate enough to go to PAX West, enjoy your time out there. We're going to have a lot of different things to look forward to in terms of gameplay footage from all of these big anticipated games. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, I'm very excited to see what that footage looks like of it being played natively on the Switch 2. Kirby Air Riders, literally the 45-minute blowout direct we just got from Sakurai. You're going to be able to see people playing that and actually sharing their hands-on impressions and what the game actually feels and plays like really soon here. Pokemon Legends ZA Switch 2 Edition, a big one, and Hollow Knight Silksong. That stuff's going to be playable. So definitely lots of exciting footage to look forward to over the coming days. And then we're going to close out the video real briefly here by mentioning a couple days you probably want to watch out for, or actually the same day from different companies because of how they're structuring this, not related in any way. But first you have the Pokemon Company teasing Legends ZA news on Thursday. And you do have this rather creepy tweet for the Pokemon Company. Now, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out in October, so maybe they're just leaning into that more horror or mysterious theme. This does not look like anything from the Pokemon Company, how they typically advertise their stuff, but nonetheless, they do have the Pokemon Company is teasing something Pokemon Legends ZA related on Thursday. It looks to be horror related. There's a possibility it could be a new type of ghost / poison type Pokemon being revealed. Thankfully, we haven't got to wait long to find out. Fans can expect an announcement at 6 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday via the official Pokemon YouTube channel. So some type of new reveal trailer will be added online. We got that big confirmation that the multiplayer is being added in to Pokemon Legends ZA. That footage has me pretty excited because I did not necessarily expect a big battle system in that game, and the fact that it's like real time, up to 4 people. You can swing in and kill somebody's Pokemon at the last moment. Like that, I'm actually excited to get into that gameplay mode and see what kind of depth it has to it. But also on Thursday, a Hollow Knight Silksong announcement coming on Thursday. And so you have here the official tweet from Team Cherry, which outlines the countdown is on. Join us in 48 hours for the special announcement about Hollow Knight Silksong, and they have it premiering on their YouTube channel. I will definitely be watching out for that. I am very much looking forward to Hollow Knight Silksong. It's nice to know that we're finally in the tail end of this game, not only being confirmed to be real and it's not canceled or anything like that, but we'll have a hard release date soon. Probably this is it on Thursday is what I'm imagining. And this is going to be a more detailed look at bosses, levels, and maybe even a slight overview trailer of sorts to kind of look at the game and the progress that Team Cherry has made on it because, yeah, we've been waiting a long time for this, but let me know in the comments down below kind of what you made of all of the different game announcements from Gamescom opening night live. Are you excited for anything that we saw there? Did nothing really strike you as much as it did me? What do you think of the announcement that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming to Switch 2? Are you excited for that big AAA Xbox published game to make it to Switch 2 officially? Or do you buy into the Nate the Hate rumor that's out there that I'm calling a leak? Internet sensitive about leak or rumor, whatever. Nate the Hate has a track record, so we're going with that. I think it's definitely going to come to the Switch 2. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that it's legit and it's going to check out? And how do you think the performance of a massive game like that will be on Switch 2? Will you be attending PAX West? And are you excited to see new gameplay footage at the very least for any of the games that are playable there? And will you be checking out either the Pokemon Company or Hollow Knight Silksong on Thursday for their new news updates? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.